It's crazy to think, right? A book published during the Great Depression promising a formula for success, still being read today.
Hmm.
Napoleon Hill's Think and Grow Rich.
Still so popular. Yeah.
And for this deep dive, we are taking a look at the core of this enduring work, Hill's 13-step philosophy of achievement. We're going to see what stands out. What stands out to you as a listener?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a really structured approach, those 13 principles, and they've really resonated with a lot of people
Right.
who are looking to achieve their goals.
Well, let's just jump right in. Let's start with desire.
Okay.
But Hill, he isn't talking about some kind of fleeting wish, you know?
Right.
This is a burning obsession,
Huh.
a clearly defined goal with a deadline,
Yep.
a really concrete plan.
Right.
It all starts with a really vivid mental image.
Hmm.
What would you say is a key distinction between just, a wish and this kind of like burning desire?
Well, I think that the biggest difference is the intensity and that unwavering commitment. So a burning desire, it really compels action.
Yeah.
It focuses your energy relentlessly towards that specific outcome.
So next up we have faith. Okay. That unwavering belief in your ability to achieve what you set out to achieve. Hill, he suggests kind of acting as if you've already succeeded, using things like affirmations and visualization.
Right.
How do you think someone can really cultivate this kind of absolute faith, especially when they're facing setbacks, you know?
Yeah, I mean, it's really about consistency. It's
Yeah.
about consistently reinforcing that belief through positive self-talk and mentally rehearsing your success. And this conditions your mind to really accept that possibility as a reality.
So that brings us to autosuggestion,
Okay.
which is really, really interesting to me. Trading your subconscious mind with positive thoughts, right?
Mhm.
Hill recommends that you should be stating your plan out loud twice a day. While you're visualizing your success,
Mhm.
what do you think the power is behind that kind of consistent repetition?
Well, I think by repeatedly kind of feeding your subconscious those positive affirmations and the images, you're essentially programming it, right?
Mm,
To align with your conscious goals and making them feel much more attainable.
that's powerful stuff.
Yeah.
Now let's talk about specialized knowledge.
Right.
Not just any knowledge, okay?
Right.
Information that is directly relevant to whatever your ambition is.
Uh-huh.
Continuous learning and the power of a mastermind group come into play here.
Yeah.
Why is this laser focus, this targeted knowledge so crucial?
Well, because it really equips you with the specific tools and insights that you need to navigate your path.
Right.
It gives you that expertise and the mastermind. That adds a whole other level. You get diverse perspectives, and you can really tap into this collaborative problem-solving power, with the group.
So then we have imagination. Okay.
The Mind's Workshop.
I like that.
Hill talks about both combining existing ideas, he calls that synthetic imagination, and creating entirely new ones, creative imagination. But the real key here is visualizing those goals.
Yeah.
How do you think that actively using your imagination contributes to achieving your desires?
Well, your imagination is so powerful. It allows you to mentally kind of prototype your success.
Mhm.
You can see it, you can feel it before it even happens.
Wow.
And that really guides your actions in the real world.
So of course you need a plan. You need to have organized planning,
Absolutely.
creating that concrete strategy, again, potentially with your mastermind group.
Right.
But it's not static. It's about continuous planning and adapting.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think the danger is in sticking rigidly to a plan that clearly isn't working?
Well, I think rigidity like that can lead to missed opportunities
Yeah.
and failure to adapt to changing circumstances.
Right. Things are always changing. So continuous planning, it allows for that necessary course correction.
Like adjusting the sails as the wind changes direction.
Exactly. Yeah. Now, next up we have decision.
Okay.
Make them promptly and change them slowly, according to Hill. He contrasts this with procrastination.
Yeah.
Why is that decisive action so important?
Well, I think prompt decisions, they keep momentum going and they prevent you from getting stuck in analysis paralysis.
Oh, yeah.
That overthinking. And then resisting hasty changes, that demonstrates conviction. It shows you're not just going to be swayed by, temporary setbacks.
Absolutely. And you'll need persistence. You'll need that drive that's fueled by that initial desire and willpower.
Mm-hmm.
I always think about that story of R.U. Darby quitting just before striking gold.
Oh, yeah.
That really sticks with me. What does that story, what does that tell us about the nature of persistence? I think it really highlights that success is often just beyond the point where we feel like giving up.
Wow.
Persistence means pushing through those temporary feelings of defeat.
We've mentioned the mastermind a few times. So let's dive a little deeper into the power of the mastermind.
Okay.
This alliance of individuals with diverse strengths working towards a common goal, creating what Hill calls a third mind.
A third mind. Interesting.
What do you think is the unique power that emerges from that level of collaboration?
Well, I think the combined intelligence, the experience, the energy of a group, when they're all working together harmoniously, it's incredible.
Yeah.
They can achieve so much more than individuals working in isolation.
I think that's a really important point. Now we're getting into a little bit more controversial territory with sex transmutation.
Oh.
Hill suggests channeling this energy into creative pursuits, about redirecting a very powerful drive. What's the underlying principle there in a neutral sense?
It's the idea that you can redirect this fundamental human energy and drive towards achieving other ambitious goals.
So then there's the subconscious mind,
Okay.
which is constantly acting on the conscious thoughts that we feed it.
Right.
Positive input is key. How can we ensure that we're feeding our subconscious mind the right things?
Well, by consciously controlling your thoughts, your affirmations, your visualizations, you're actively programming your subconscious for success.
So we have the subconscious mind, then we have the brain,
Right.
described as a transmitter and receiver of thought vibrations. Hill emphasizes positive mental states and associating with inspiring people. How might our mental environment impact our chances of success?
Well, our mental environment, it influences our mindset and our focus.
Yeah.
Right. So positive associations and thoughts, they create this more and more conducive environment for achieving goals.
Then finally we have the sixth sense, a heightened intuition that's developed through mastering all the other principles, tapping into what Hill calls infinite intelligence. How might someone recognize or cultivate this intuition?
Well, it's presented as a result of consistently applying all those other principles. It leads to this deeper level of insight and inner guidance.
So Think and Grow Rich, published back in 1937, claimed to be based on Hill studying successful individuals. Hill's method involves defining the amounts that you desire, what you'll give in return for achieving that, a deadline, a plan, writing it all down, and reading it every single day.
That's intense.
The core really seems to be the power of mindset, right?
Yeah.
Desire, faith, and persistence.
Absolutely. And I think, despite any criticisms or its historical context, the book's popularity really speaks to the power of that message. The message of self-belief and focused intention.
So considering all of this blend of these psychological principles and this huge emphasis on mindset, what single element from Hill's philosophy really resonates the most with you? That's for you, the listener, to consider. How could you apply that in your own unique way today? That's your food for thought.
It's definitely something to think about.
It is.